this country and in the banking system. And there are, like to his question, there are some banks even who are trying to be resisting the directive by telling people that this is possible, this is not possible because of central bank directive. And I believe there is some hoarding on their side. So what I intend to do is call all the managing directors of bank and give them clear instructions.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Governor, we have seen your investment, in fact, a major investment in Gunswitch for the past few years.
Yes.
And I think for those directors that were here a few years ago when we were dealing with them,
yes,
I think we had a lot of questions about that.
Okay.
Now, what role do you play in the operations of Gunswitch since you are a major shareholder?
Gunswitch, we have 100% role in Gunswitch. Like I told the board of Gunswitch in one of the meetings, that if I was the sitting governor when Gunswitch was created, there will be no private sector shareholders. It will be 100% central bank owned, because according to the Central Bank Act, which derives its powers from the Constitution, the central bank is mandated and is the responsibility of the central bank to ensure that we have a payment system in this country. And that is the role of this Gunswitch, is to ensure that we have a robust payment system in the country, so that we are able to digitalize the economy. The payment system infrastructure is there, not only moving funds from bank A to bank B, but we should also go beyond that and create a national switch so that payments international transactions can occur, digital payments can happen, electronic payments. These ATMs you see in banks are riding on the Gunswitch. These mobile money are riding on Gunswitch. Cash power purchase by now are riding on Gunswitch. Tourists come to this country. Like I said, it's a major source of foreign exchange and employment for this country. It contributes to the growth of the economy, revenue for government. When they come with their Visa card or electronic payment cards, and they cannot use it in our ATMs, it discourages them. They cannot use it in the hotels to pay for their accommodation and their food. All those things are possible with the Gunswitch. And that's why we are investing heavily in the switch to make sure that we modernize it, strengthen it, and expand its activity. We intend to even issue central bank digital currency, as all other countries are planning to do. Because this digital currency, one thing, we will not allow this cryptocurrency for now in the country. But digital, central bank digital currency, we will promote that and issue that. It will help us to reduce cash in the economy. Even without the central bank digital currency, what we intend to do with Gunswitch, the heavy investment we are putting into the suite, will ensure that the ATMs work more efficiently. Hotels, payments would be can be done electronically. Even tax payments, DRA. If we have this switch up and running in a modernized, most efficient way, the tax, I'm not saying there are tax leakages. In every system there are leakages, but those leakages will be minimized significantly because all payments will be done electronically and it will be through the switch. There are a lot of things that can be done through the switch. I don't want to waste your time on it, but that's why we are putting a lot of money in it. Right now, the switch is owned by Central Bank majority shareholder. We have InterSwitch, we have Unique Solution, Trust Bank, and then we have the Bankers Association as observers. They have been allocated some shares, bankers association, other commercial banks, aside from Trust Bank, the other 11 commercial banks, but they are not participating. The last board meeting, what I told them, those opportunities will not be there forever. Let them go and put their houses in order. If they don't take advantage of it, I am closing that window and I will bring those shares to the central bank, because the switch should be a national asset. And that's and also for national security reasons. The reason I employed from my colleagues, because when this suite was being built, I was in here, I was in Washington. But I spoke to one of the pioneers, that is Unisolution and InterSuite. The proprietor of Unisolution, Papa Yusunjai, is the one who, at an international conference, came across this idea of switch. And his discussion with the conference organizers, they referred him to one of the participants who happens to be InterSuite, somebody from InterSuite in Nigeria. Said, no, they brought the idea to the Gambia. And then the governor at the time told him, no. Since you brought this to the Gambia, and you have the technical capacity with InterSuite, we will provide the resources. But you guys go ahead and help us create this suite, and we give you shares. That's how they came to the party.
That's fine.
Yes.
Mr. Governor.
Yes, please.
I think your legal officer is here.
Yes.
I think we did question him on the legality of this investment. Because
Yes.
when you look at the Central Bank Act,
Yes.
we in fact will ask him to make further consultations on
Yes.
whether the Central Bank actually has the mandate to be involved in such an investment.
Yes, we have.
I'm not sure if he has something that he wants to, because we threw it back to him to give an update on that.
Yes.
But above all,
Yes.
if you look at the investment you are talking about here,
Yes.
wouldn't this be stifling, private sector, investment in this country? Because this is something that the private sector can do. Now, if you look at other jurisdictions,
Yes.
if you look at other jurisdictions, it's the private sector that actually comes together, especially the bankers association. They come together to create such. And besides, in this country also, there are banks that have the capability also to run switches just like the switch. Wouldn't that be creating a conflict? Because you are the banker of all the banks, you supervise them. Now you are also engaging in some kind of commercialization of switching and stuff like that.
Yes.
How would you supervise yourself in that situation?
Okay, the legal side of it, I'll allow you to come later, but I can assure you that there are certain services and assets in every sovereign country that it's the responsibility of the government to provide those services and assets or public goods. In economics, you will have an entity, they call it public goods. Those public goods, even if they are making losses, for instance, even the most democratic place on the face of the earth, in the US, you have Amtrak and others. They're making a lot of losses, and you have private companies, Greyhound and other private transport companies that are running more efficiently than them, but they still maintain these public services because of the social benefit. Likewise, this gap suite is like a public service that it is the responsibility of the government of the Gambia to provide those kind of services. Yes, you can have private sectors participate in development of suites. That is possible. Like, for instance, in Nigeria, you have InterSuite, you have other suites. But the Central Bank of Nigeria have their own suite. And they insist for certain transactions that have implications for national security, those switches have to go through the national suite. I'll give you an example. The African Union wants to make sure that there is inter-African trade to promote that. And to promote the inter-African trade, we have to have a payment and settlement system. So they want to create that payment and settlement system. They call it PASS, P-A-S-S. Pan-African payment and settlement system. what they want to do, they looked at the continent, the area, the sub-regions of the continent, the area that have a more integrated sub-region is in West Africa, and within West Africa is what we call WAMS, West African Monetary Zone. That is the zone, is mainly Anglophone West Africa with Guinea-Conakry and Cape Verde. The intention is to create a single currency. It was a two-track approach. You already have the safer zone by default from colonialism. We wanted a single currency so that the entire ECOWAS community can have a single currency. That's why the WAMS exists. And the WAMS is well integrated. And it's been operating with consistent policies in terms of achieving convergence and other structures needed to build a robust single currency system. And the AU, in their wisdom, and the head of state, from technical committee to head of state, approved that the WAMS zone be used as a pilot project, and they are working with Fpac as the implementing financial institution. So they are using national suite. The reason why I'm telling you this, the governors of the central bank, we are the board of that pilot project, that PAC system. Nigeria, the suite, inter-suite, the suite is there, inter-suite and other suites were the ones connected to Afrexim, the AU system. And the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Governor Emefele, told the project director that hook them off. This is a national one, project. For security reasons, it should go through the CBN suite. If when we go develop this system, and we want to, because we all agree, we want a private sector-led economy. Government is inefficient in most areas of economic development and activity. Where there is a market failure, that's when the government comes in. So he told them, at this stage, hook up all these private suites and then hook the national suite. That's the one that is going to operate until, and can you imagine if we don't have a suite? We'll be off this. And we have a suite, but there was a critical machine that was needed. Gambia was not hooked because we lacked that machine. When I came in as governor, it was not there.
Can you clarify that?
Yes.
That we didn't have a suite and Gambia was not hooked. Can you clarify that statement?
No, we have a suite. I said we have a suite. I said, can you imagine if we did not have a national suite? We would not have been part of it. But we have a national suite, and that is GAM suite. We could not connect to the PAPS system because there's a critical computer equipment that was needed. It costing $10,000. At the time, we did not have that machine because of the cost, $10,000. And we were holding all other countries, the other remaining member countries, from actually testing this. Everybody was hooked to go live and test the system. We were the only country left behind. So when I came in, the Director General of WAMI, West African Monetary Institute, said to me, they were the ones leading it with Afrexim Bank. If you cannot afford the machine, let's talk to Afrexim for them to buy it for you. I said, for national pride, even if it means running down our reserves, we'll buy it. So that very day, I instructed that wherever the machine exists in this country, let them go and bring it, and we'll pay $10,000. And we bought the machine, we got hooked, and we moved. Right now, for that project, the flag post is in the Gambia in terms of implementing and also providing the necessary services and cooperation with Afrexim Bank to ensure that the AU project succeeds.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if I understand you correctly, yes. You are saying that because of the importance of having that national switch, so you decided to get this machine,
yes,
so that we can connect.
Yes.
Was this done on behalf of GAM Switch or is the cost of Central Bank? Because my understanding is that GAM Switch is a whole separate entity. That's my understanding.
GAM Switch is a subsidiary of the Central Bank. That's why when you look at the account, you will see consolidated group. That means GAM Switch. is a subsidiary of the central bank. So if we need to spend, we will spend on it. Some expenditures in gum switch, central bank does that as a technical assistant to that company, because the gum switch financially is not strong enough to be a standalone entity within the central bank group. So sometimes the parent have to support the child. Just like any of us, our kids, we do support them. So sometimes certain investment is in the interest of the central bank. That's why in one of our board meetings, the modernization of the switch, inter-switch, was saying that we are elbowing them. We should not go and get another service provider when they are there. What I told them in the first place, if I was the sitting governor, you would not have been here. But first, let's pass that stage. When this suite was created, they left it with the private sector. I said, you have the technical capacity, you brought the idea, you install the system, help us run this suite to get it up to standard. The story I had, the information I got from my staff when I became governor, the suite was never making profit because they brought in a technical assistant, a chief executive from Nigeria. The rent alone was in the millions, big house. Most of the expenditures were on this CEO. And basically, they were not doing anything. That's why the switch, instead of being developed and being more efficient, was going down. So the bank had to come back, rescue the company, send the executive back, and get an interim executive, a Gambian, and central bank is only rolling this switch in the interest of the country, and things have done, the switch is making profits.
All right. Now, before I come to Mr. Moji for the explanation, the legal explanation, what happens if an investor comes now and wants to have, switch in the Gambia? What would you do?
We will look at the laws for now. If they want to switch, they will have to apply like any other services that private sector can provide to Gambians and the global economy. If it is supervised and regulated by the central bank, we will first have to look at the existing laws. The addition of that particular business or investor to the system, its impact on the economy, the efficiency, is it going to be disruptive? So we'll assess it. If there is, if it is the right time and is needed, we will allow it. If it is not right yet and is not needed, we will disapprove it.
Thank you. Yes,
yes.
We look at the provisions of the law, starting from the constitutional provisions relating to the central bank. If you look at section 161 of the Constitution of the Gambia 1997, it provides for the establishment of the central bank. And it states under subsection 4 that the central bank shall, going straight to D of the subsection which is relevant in the answering of this question. It says that the central bank shall exercise such other functions as may be conferred on the central bank by an act of the National Assembly. Pursuant to that section, the central bank the National Assembly in 2016 passed the Payment Systems Act. And in the provisions relating to the function, it says under Part 2, headed Establishment and Supervision of Payment Systems. Section 3 says that the power to establish and designate payments and other systems. 1. The central bank may establish, operate, promote, and supervise payment fund transfers, clearing and settlement systems, subject to certain rules as it may from time to time publish in the Gazette. Now, the Central Bank of the Gambia Act 2018 provides the functions of the central bank under Section 6, where it states that the central bank shall promote, regulate, and supervise payment and settlement systems. There is a fundamental rule of statutory interpretation which states that in order to give a true meaning of legislation, the provisions relating to the issue should be looked at and read as a whole, in order to discern the intention of the government. Honorable Chairman, reading the provisions of the Constitution, the Payment Systems Act, and the Central Bank of the Gambia Act, it is very clear that the central bank has the power under the provisions of the law to establish, to promote, to supervise, and to regulate payment systems. And I would actually even add that the central bank has the exclusive power and mandate to establish, to regulate, to operate, and to supervise payment systems. And this is the same provision that we could find in the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, the Central Bank of Ghana Act, and other central bank acts in sub-region, particularly in the one zone. And this is why, as the governor indicated, we go to Nigeria, the national switch sits with the central bank. We visited Ghana, the national switch is sitting with the central bank of Ghana. This is why the central bank has found it necessary to invest that much to ensure that the national switch is functioning properly. The reason why the former governor who was sitting at the time was being related, he felt that the investment was sound and the service provider that was InterSwitch and Unique Solutions needed to be, seen to be well committed in the establishment and running of GamSwitch to ensure that it succeeds. And he pressurized them to take shares and invest in the company, so that as owners, they will be more committed to the success of the company. So that is the only reason why actually the private sector was informed. The bank was also quite open at the initial stage to say that the commercial banks should join. And that was the reason why the Bankers Association was sitting on the board as an observer with the intention that it will, through the Association of Banks, be able to convince the commercial banks to come on board and take shares. Actually, if you go through the records of the minutes of the board and even the shareholders, because I happen to be the secretary to the board of Gamsui. This is why I'm able to tell you that the central bank had the intention to divest if the commercial banks and any interested entity will come and take shares. So far, it is only Trust Bank among all the other commercial banks who is a shareholder with 5% shareholding in Gamsui. Convince the commercial banks to come on board. They are looking at the interest market because they will have to have invested heavily, but profit was not coming by, in the foreseeable future. That is why they were locked down. Since Trust Bank had invested at 5%, they can confirm that they have never received dividend. And the main objective of investing in any productive or profit-making venture is at the end of the day to get returns in the form of dividend or other income. I think that is why the commercial banks are still reluctant. So this is the situation. Legally, I am of the strong conviction that the central bank has the exclusive mandate to establish, operate, supervise, and all the other elements in the law relating to Gamsui.
If I may add something already.
Very quickly, yeah.
Yes, this is important. The private sector is always ahead of the public sector, and that's what we want. But in certain areas, the private sector will always be creative and innovative. But there are certain areas when they go there, we will have to work with them because we have to do that, otherwise they will just have to go. The economic agents need it. And this is this digital currency, central bank digital currency. It's a private sector initiative invention. But the IMF quickly jumped ahead of all member countries, even ahead of advanced economy, and took charge of this and called all the membership and said, you have to own it. We don't have the technical knowledge. Even the IMF, they have to try to get. It's a big institution. They have the resources to get the best brains, get them together to say, how are we going to go with this central bank digital currency? You have Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. What the supplier you don't know, the quantity of Bitcoin out there you don't know. And in an economy, you need to know money supply, quantity that is adequate for economic growth. If you supply too much inflation, if you supply less, you choke the economy, it won't grow. So that's why it's a delicate. And then monetary policy, when you have this digital currency, how does it affect monetary policy? If you want to implement monetary policy, the cash is there. Reserve Central Bank have direct control to print the money. That's why it's called high-powered money. We control that. If we introduce digital currency, this private sector invention, and we don't quickly take it from them and then give it back to them, we will have chaos in the international monetary system. That's why I said IMF joined, grab it from the private sector, and told the membership, oh, this is how you do it. They are providing technical assistance to all of us. I was in Accra. The Central Bank of Ghana started the pilot project. They are trying to do it. They are challenging. But their system, their GAP suite, national suite, is robust. And before we even venture into upgrading ours, I went with a team to Ghana before I went to the service providers to learn from them. But the switch is the cornerstone, and we need to have it a robust one to digitize this economy, and we are in that process. Like he said, us in the central bank, we believe in private sector labor. There are certain institutions government should do. Central bank is creating them. Even private sector should do them. In the Gambia, the private sector one, they are not that organized, integrated to be able to offer that kind of service. And we cannot wait as a country. So we are taking the initiative to provide that service to the country, to the private sector. When they come together, we work with them, we provide the necessary training, capacity, guidance, then we give it to them. An example is the capital market. In a couple of months, in fact, we wanted by end of June to launch the capital market. Private sector is not ready. Government is not ready. The same AU sub-regional, they want integrated capital markets. We don't have it. So, but we are about to launch it. The capital market should be operated by the private sector. I've had meetings with their president at their Kerjula, and I told them it's here, but you are not ready. We are going to write to the Minister of Finance, even the ministry, the commission, the stock exchange should be a government agency. They don't have the capacity, the resources are not there. We have it. So we wrote to the Minister of Finance to give us that power. We have it in the central bank. The private sector have agreed with them. We have the capital market in the central bank. We run it. When the baby grows is up to stand on its own run, we will finance their budget, both agencies, for 2 years, and then say, run it. We will supervise them, look at it. Once it's far, we leave it with them, like we did with the FI.
Okay.
I told you yesterday, insurance safety.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will have two last questions on this infrastructure, and then
yes.
My colleagues going to have another question.
Okay.
The two things I want to understand
yes.
about the GAM switch infrastructure.
Yes.
Are all the local switches going through GAM switch, the national switch, or they are independent in terms of redirecting payment systems? Like, are the local switches going through the national switch, or they are completely separate? They all go. How does it work? I
think they are going through the switch. If they are not, that's why this upgrade of this GAM switch, the mobile money, Afri money, Q money, they are all on their standalone, and that's not what is desired. That's why the upgrade, we want to do it in such a way that there will be a module that will allow the interoperability of the different switches. Even, it's not only GAM switch, in the central bank, the RTGS, plus other payment system infrastructure. That is allowing, for instance, government payment of salaries. It used to be done manually, and it takes ages, people queuing in commercial bank. Now, Accountant General feeds the system, it comes, it distributes it to your banks, your accounts. Everything is placed there automatically. But that thing was developed years ago by the same project, WAMI, this monetary union. We don't have it. Sierra Leone, they don't have the capacity, the resources. Liberia, Guinea Conakry. So through WAMI, the member countries mandated the Director General of WAMI to write to the African Development Bank, because I was part of the technical committee then as Director of Economic Research at the Central Bank, to write to the African Development Bank to sponsor that project. That's how this RTGS was launched in these member countries in 2012. That thing is all falling apart in the Central Bank. In fact, when I was appointed governor and permanent secretary, one day I came from the ministry to the Central Bank, the system was completely gone. And it's like, I had to go back to put on my cap as permanent secretary, call the African Development Bank in Dakar to say we have crisis, because I know there are resources meant to be returned to the African Development Bank. I said, it cannot happen, we have crisis here. They said, how much do you need? We told them. They provided the resources. We got that massive. We are still in the process of upgrading that system itself. It's so expensive. We can do it, print money and do it. But the underlying question that he wrote, how much profit did you make? Why did the profit fall? If we make these heavy investments that are required now, the central bank will be running into losses, will print money to do this, which could be inflationary. So we are trying to be careful about it. Use our own resources, get donor funded. I even had to hop on a plane to go to Nigeria to talk to my colleague, Governor MFL, and they promised to help in terms of our local payment system to help us upgrade that. With that promise, we are now spending our own money. These are in millions of foreign currency, and they are not easy investments, but we have to do it as a country. If we have to digitalize our economy, we have to make these investments and then let the private sector run with it. I know where you are going with your concern. Eventually, the private sector will come in, we will allow switches to be developed. We are not there yet. The national switch have to be created first, robust, and let it go. Right now, the national switch is in one office, one room in the central, few staff. So we bought that property on Battle Head, the future land building. That's where we are relocating them, so that we recruit more. The CEO is acting as CEO and the financial controller at the same time. So we are trying to be very creative.
Thank you.
Less resources.
I'm happy that you know exactly where I'm trying to get to. I'm happy that you know exactly where I'm trying to get to. Because if you're going to call this a national switch,
yes,
it must be something better than what we have right now. You know, I was in the commercial banking sector, so I'm in it. So that's exactly what I'm trying to drive at. We can't just leave them behind like that when you have the private sector that want to invest to even make it better. So we must be ready now. And IT infrastructure is nothing that's cheap. You must spend money to be able to get to what you want.
Yes.
So you may not see the return on investment immediately.
Yes. But
then you will still carry forward all the activities that you actually do in the sector. Yes. So I'm glad that you understand exactly what I'm trying to get at. Yes. So let's make it happen and let's do it as quickly as possible.
We will be there. Just be patient.
It's the long time.
Governor,
yes.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I just want to be clear.
Yes.
Whether you have the capacity to run that switch as a country, as a not independent, but as central bank officer.
Yes, I can.
You can just move along, then open it to the private sector.
I can assure you that we have the capacity. We are in position now, and the resources and the support from donors. You have the UN, is it UNECDF, and the Central Bank of Morocco, Bank Al Maghrib. I approached the governor there. He's very supportive. He is willing to send 2 IT engineers to come here, technical assistance on permanent basis, and also lift our people to go and train them at Bank Al Maghrib and also in the universities. This is a national project that we are taking seriously, and we will develop this to first-class standard before opening it up for the private sector. The banks have been given the opportunity. I told you last board meeting, I told them, if you don't come back to me before the next board meeting, I will close the door. And I'm going to do it. I know they are looking for profit. Right now, there's no profit. We are making profit, but that profit, even the private participant in the company said, let's share. Trust Bank, who is a bank that needs money, said no, because the MD is an accountant. He said, let's recover the losses first, and then we can now share dividend. Thank you.
Only one question, Mr. Governor.
Yes.
Like my colleague asked you,
yes,
whether you have the capacity.
Yes.
And now that you are investing in this high technology,
Yes.
and going by the management level report to management,
Yes.
we have seen some recommendations made by both the GPPA and the external auditors,
Yes.
and which states that you are having issues
Yes.
like the vault security, and also currently you are having no director of audit at the central bank, and the security of the vault too is an issue.
Yes,
Those are-
yes. Hold on, Governor. We will get to that one in a moment. Yeah, we'll get to that question in a moment. We just want to finish up with the the council.
Yeah, but I want to learn because this is very important. And
Okay.
recently we have seen in all the newspapers here
Yes.
that people with foreign foreign currency accounts
Yes.
wouldn't have access to their monies.
Yes.
So will this not also add another load to your institution?
No, they have no direct link, and those social media stories discount them. I can tell you that the people who are saying they don't have access to their foreign accounts is false. Central bank is not in control of anybody's money. Whatever money you earn, you work hard for it, you put it in your bank, is your money. What we said, when these foreign currency accounts were created, I was in the central bank. It was meant for businessmen who are able to finance their own businesses, generate their own foreign currency. Remember in those days, we did a survey, 100% import to this country of basic commodities, 60% was for re-export, 40% was consumed. Now it has changed because why? They've developed their ports, and the re-export was surviving on the inefficiencies of those economies. They've taken care of most of those. Now very little, the percentage has come down to around 20, or in some instances 15% of our import is re-exported. But let me state on the question, the foreign currency generated from this re-export activity, those businesses, we told them open your own foreign currency account in commercial banks, deposit the money there. When you want to import, you don't have to struggle for foreign currency. Your bank takes from your foreign currency account and send it, pay for your supplies. We get importation. Later on, it was liberalized. And here you give people 1 inch, they take a mile. Everybody started opening foreign currency account. Now some people open it to store, make sure they preserve the value of their wealth. When inflation is happening, the dollar is depreciating, they dump dollar and dollar denominated assets, buy foreign currency and foreign currency denominated assets to store the value of their wealth. Then they started getting creative, using those foreign currencies to seek for arbitrage opportunities. Meaning, you see that if I take my dollar from my foreign currency account, I can go and change it somewhere at a higher rate, get more dollars in, and go and do something else. What that creates, a rapid depreciation of the dollar. We use foreign currency to import our goods. It fits into inflation instantly. We did a study in the central bank when I was director of research, and recently in the central bank again, the results are still the same. Exchange rate depreciation of the dollar fits instantly into inflation. To correct that, if we implement the right monetary policies, even with the most powerful firepower, it takes minimum 6 months for it to be effective to bring inflation down, maximum 18 months. To arrest that and avoid those kind of situations, that's why we gave this directive to say the foreign currency, you can still maintain it. If you want to withdraw, to conduct transaction in the country, they pay you in dollars. Because if you take out the foreign currency, you want to buy a bottle of Coke, you are not going with the dollar to the dinar shop to say Jai Mako and give him the dollars or her. You give him or her the dollar. You give him or her the dollars. So why? That's why we said, if you want to finance transaction in the country, we told banks, give them dollars. If it's their money, the foreign currency is there, If they want to finance transactions abroad, UK, Dakar, Guinea Conakry, is there foreign currency? Send it there. You understand? That is the directive we've given. We are not saying we control your money or take it from you. We are saying don't use your money to destroy our economy. That's all we are doing.
Thank you very much. I think that is very clear. Is okay? Yes. All right.
And the vault also, concerning the vault is very secure.
Now,
Very secure.
Can you hold on for the vault?
Okay.
Because we are coming to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we are coming to that one.
All right.
So we'll find out how secure it is in the moment. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This particular question will go to the finance.
Yes.
We noticed from the auditor's report with regards to the currency in circulation. We also look at their report that the discrepancies have been due to some differences in some general ledger accounts. But we all know that the trial balance is derived from the general ledger. Correct. And from the trial balance, we derive the income statement, correct, as well as the balance sheet. Correct. Now, what differences have you seen about here? Does it mean that?
Can you refer me to the point you are reading from?
I'm not reading from the point. I just took the note and I'm laying the situation for you. But this should be on. Look at the monitoring report.
Yes, I'm saying it. Yes, go ahead.
You are saying.
Yes.
So the point I'm trying to make here is there was a difference in what was expected as the physical count of stock and the ledger balance.
Yes.
And the audit report did indicated that it might happen or it is due to some discrepancies in the general ledger. So we know that the general ledger makes a trial balance, and from the trial balance we derive or prepare our financial statements, be it the income statement or the balance sheet. And we assume that the trial balance was valid. Yes. So what differences are we exactly talking about?
Thank you so much. We are referring to point 2.1.3 on page 7.
Yes.
If you look at the issue that is highlighted by the auditors, the difference that they are highlighting, they did not say is the difference between the physical count and the general ledger. They say it's the difference between the general ledger and their expectation. The expectation is actually not in our books. The expectation is something that the auditor builds independently based on the facts that is presented to them. So the difference is between the expectation and our general ledger. So our general ledger, our trial balance, everything is reconciled. The difference is between our general ledger and their expectation. So that will have no impact on
Yes, but Jiba, I think the expectation is clear here. You know, here you have the money that's printed. They told you exactly, you get those amounts, right? And you also given the information about the money that was destroyed, right? And you also, they did the vault count. So the expectations, you already know. This is something that's within you. It's not like a figure they get out from somewhere. This is something you get them. So essentially, when you put those together, they expect to have a particular figure that would match your ledger.
Yes.
But it doesn't match.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So now they're trying to figure out where exactly is this difference?
Correct.
Where exactly is it?
Yes. Let's be very clear here. In that, what the currency department does at the end of every month, they do conduct a reconciliation. And the reconciliation they conduct is they start with the opening balance for the period, less all the payments plus all the inflows to arrive at the closing balance. If that value is compared to the general ledger, they are seeing eye to eye. The expectation that is developed by the auditors is the global expectation since, if I recall, since the printing started. So it's a long way off. That I don't have an explanation.
Can I ask this? Of course, those monthly reconciliations also were scrutinized by the auditors, right?
Right.
But they said they were not able to find the evidences or the true source of those discrepancies. So now the question is this: can you make up another follow-up reconciliation and provide a time frame to the National Assembly so that we can come and have a side visit? Because why are we making this recommendation now? From the auditor's point of view, this has been a prior year error which was never corrected. Okay. So it is rolling in. So as personalities go, the error will be deepened, the root causes won't be known, and eventually it will be an integral part of the system. And if he can find resources, we might end up offsetting it, which might be a loss to the bank. So to avoid that, let's do a thorough reconciliation. So can you give us a time frame as to when that reconciliation can be completed? That's so that the National Assembly can come on site and do inspection to make sure that the recommendations are implemented.
I can commit that we can try to do a reconciliation. However, this is not under my department. I request that you give me time. Let me consult with the relevant department and agree a time frame, then communicate that.
Yes, I think that's fine. We want to just get to the bottom of this. You know, there's discrepancy. We need to know exactly where discrepancy is, and then you resolve and we move. That's what we're trying. Yes, Robert.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, because I will take this responsibility as the CEO and governor. Whatever is happening in that bank is my responsibility. I'm not delegating it to anybody. Like I told you, the 2019 GPPA report, we will get to that later. The responsibility that I took as governor, whatever decision from HR Monday, the first governor of the central bank, to now, whatever decision is taken is a central bank decision, is the governor's decision, is my decision. I will not run away from it. This is my responsibility. We've had a situation like this in the current audit with PKF. It's no more detailed because of the changes in the auditors. And we put a team together to sort out that difference. And it happened. And again, it now came to the same point that we are saying, this is from time immemorial. And what I said is, it has to be solved. It is not our, it is not us who did it. We found it there. But as a central bank, and now with this transparency and the demand for accountability from the public, it falls on our head now. We cannot run away with it, from it. I will take the responsibility. I'll put a team together and we'll do our best to solve this thing. At the end of the day, in fact, the last one, the one that I said a team to look at, is not a deficit, it was a surplus. So we will have to see, meaning it's not a loss. It's not like somebody took money away. We ended up having more than we should have. So at the end of the day, we will do a thorough search, like we propose here, with the auditors and the assembly. We say we've done our best, this is what we agree on.
Okay.
And we close it here, wipe it off, and start a new system. The other side of the story I got, everything was done manually in this country, like any third world country or developing country. When the system was computerized, we had some teething problems. Some theories are that this originated from there. What is in the machine and what is in the record are different, manual. So now reconciling that because of my thinking, and I may be wrong, capacity constraints is still going, and accountants have their own way, keeps on carrying it forward. I'm sorry, my so they carry it forward. Whatever cannot balance, throw it in suspense account. So those things lead to these kind of things. On a serious note, we'll set up a committee to look at it, and all stakeholders will sit around it and make a decision.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, and just make sure you put the auditors in the loop. Once that's done, let them certify themselves also with what you have, so that we can all be on the same.
Yes, we'll do it.
Because we don't want to see it again in the next report as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Governor, for that intervention. So still, I'll come back to the finance director still now. This time around, I think we will commend you for the improvement with regards to holding over 95% of the fixed assets. But yet still there's a concern. The auditors have noted that like everything is maintained manually. A fact that has been alluded to by the governor, that most of the discrepancies in the cashing at the vault was due to the manual recording. So again, if we just look at it here on the radio, we have over 14,649,000 coming in as additions with regards to non-profit. So what steps are you taking to make sure that you migrate from the manual fixed asset register to an automated one?
Thank you so much. The fixed asset register is managed by the administration department. However, the update on this one is that I am aware that the bank has already awarded the contract to a solution provider. And work has already commenced to actually build a solution that we will be able for. So this one, we hope by the end of 2022 it will exist. Yes.
Maybe the hero.
However, let's be clear. The fact that we do not have a solution that is built by a solution provider doesn't mean we do not have a fixed asset register. We have a fixed asset register.
Can I make a clarification?
Go ahead.
We all accept the fact that there is a fixed asset register. Because that is being confirmed by the audit exercise that was done.
Okay.
And when you look at the financial statements as well, you look at the rundown to the fixed asset involved in maintaining a manual fixed asset register are very high. So how do we make sure that we promote operational efficiency and productivity? That's the line we are coming from. That's why we are posing the question. When do you think that we will migrate from the maintenance of the manual fixed asset register to an automated one? And maybe you can combine and answer these two questions together. That goes as well for the payroll, which you are also maintaining manually.
Yes, the admin department has awarded the contract for both of the fixed asset register and the payroll software. So work is an advanced step. Yes.
So the last one, Mr. Chairman, before I hand over the floor to you, would be with regards to the internal audit department. From the observations of the auditor, it was realized that the position was vacant for over 12 months. There was no work plan received from the internal audit department, and there was no internal audit software. So that one will go to the governor.
Okay. I'm his message. Thank you so much. On a serious note, yes, it is a fact that the internal audit department does not have a director currently. However, in the Central Bank of the Gambia, that is not an issue. In that, if you look at the admin order of the Central Bank, it is clearly spelled out in the admin orders that in the absence of a substantive director, the ranking officer on the floor takes over the department, in any department. So in the absence of a director, in the finance department, there was a time for a year or two, there was no director. I was the deputy director. So I take charge of the responsibilities of the director.
Sorry to interject.
Go ahead.
But that provision,
yes,
does not remit the fact that the position of the internal audit director should be fair.
No, I think Honorable Member, what I'm trying, the point I'm trying to make, the fact that
you are only answering a different question.
No,
let's not talk about the position. Let's talk about the steps we are taking to appoint.
I'll come to that, but let me clarify this, then I'll deal with that.
Yes.
The reason I'm saying so is whether there is a substantive director or not, the most important thing is for the function of the department to happen. In the absence of a substantive director, everybody in the central bank or familiar with the central bank knows that the ranking officer takes charge of the department. In the internal audit department, yes, there is no director, but there is an experienced deputy director over 20 plus years experience as a senior officer who is running point on the department. And I'm aware that management is at an advanced stage about to appoint a substantive director.
Can I ask a question? How do you reconcile this with the fact that, with the notion that the absence of the internal audit director is the main reason that there was no analyst could not be outsourced because they were handicapped? How do you reconcile with that notion?
Yes, because again on the same issue, it's a little bit confusing. Because if you say that there is somebody who's capable enough to do the work, and yet still the direction was actually not, not very clear on what they're supposed to do, especially an audit plan, which is the most basic document that they need to have at the beginning of the year. I mean, then the question is like, does the person you are referring to has the capability to man the position. You know, because these are basic things you have to have.
I know for a fact that the internal audit, they have somebody here, but first I will say this. I know for a fact that at the end of every year, they are required to produce an audit plan that is vetted by the board, a subcommittee of the board, and approved. Why it wasn't provided to the auditors, I don't know, but I know they have one.
Yes, can I comment? I think he has done his best. Again, I take full responsibility for this as governor. The audit department is under my office, so I will take full responsibility for it. Yes, there was no director at the internal audit. We had, is it the principal or deputy director as officer in charge. Even the IMF safeguard department in Washington cited that as a weakness. And because I was telling them, the central bank is audited by 2 audit firms, local audit firm and a foreign audit firm. And it's very costly. And these things happen because of reputation risk issues. It first started a long time ago. The IMF intervened and said, no, we don't trust you, it has to be true. Now we gain our trust, it happened again. Now we gain our trust, it's still going. So I told the mission team, if you are going to continue asking us to do that, let IMF pay for it. We are poor. We cannot do it, you know what is needed here. He said, look, this is not my requirement under the program, it's simpler. When we went to Washington, I approached the team. What they said now is that if we complete this year's report, 2021, and then they are satisfied, then they can consider dropping the foreign audit firm being on board. But however, the local audit firms here, they discovered that the kind of capacity they needed to be satisfied with the audit of the institution is not there, present even in our local audit firm. So they said what they will do, if they drop the foreign audit firm, they will still require that 1 or 2 external auditors who have individuals who have that capacity to be present and part of the audit. I said, I agree to that. Now coming back to this, just to show you that this is not a concern for you alone, even our development partners. But we've now got a head of audit officer in charge. The reason why I'm saying he's going to be the director. I told the National Assembly my last appearance here in 2020, I said, as a new governor, I want to restructure the central bank to position it for the challenges ahead. We've completed that. The people who are going to be directors, we call them officer in charge. I went with a proposal to my board to appoint them directly as directors. The board said, no, they are not tested yet. We will keep them as officer in charge for 6 months. After 6 months, evaluate them and bring it. If they are fit to be appointed director, we will do it. We are in that process. But all of them are going to be directors, and this particular person has been in the central bank, I think, for over 30 years. And he went to WAMI as an auditor there. He's back. He's now the officer in charge. Under him, we have 3 principals. The other one came from her master's degree, but one of the principals left because he got another job, well-paying job somewhere he saw, and he applied for secondment. Because I know these things may come up and you will hear somebody left, they refuse him secondment. Because for good reason. He applied, he came from an institution, because in this country, like they say, rolling stones gather no muscle. We need to be patient. I'm not blaming anybody. That's my principle. We need to be patient and gather experience and knowledge. Okay, you move from one institution, came within a short period, you saw something great, you say, give me, what was it? Secondment to go to that institution. When that contract ends, I come back. And in the central bank, we have a principle. We second people, even me, I was seconded to the IMF. Likewise, some people here. But the institution have to be interested in you. One, Central bank also have to have an interest in your going to that institution, so that when you come back, you improve on the work product and the output of the bank. There were people before this gentleman who were rejected, and they decided they resigned and went to those offices. In this case, the same thing. We looked at it and we said, no, precedents have been set. We cannot now deviate from that and create another new precedent. And then we are accountable to the public. So we declined that. So the person is gone. The internal audit department, I'll admit, is weak. We need more staff like most departments in the bank. We are about to recruit my senior advisor on administrative matters. I traveled with him to Casablanca and she got sick. So we took care of that. She's back. As soon as he resumes, we'll fill these various positions. And the officer in charge, who is a deputy director, will be confirmed as director. And they generate audit plans. I saw the audit plan for this 2022. In 2021, it came to my desk, and I looked at it. They even to ask me, do you have anything to add on this? I said, I'm satisfied, and I approved it. The board audit committee approved it. The board approved it. So we are now on track to meeting the standards. Yes, I must admit, I'm from high school. From high school in 82 December, I joined the Central Bank. I've been there. I went out, came back, went to ministry, came back. The Central Bank at some point, even us, my colleague here, we started the Central Bank, the same thing. At some point, we were saying the bank is so diluted. We have not seen standard fall to this level. And we always say we have to now work hard to bring it to that level. And we are on that path. Some may not like it. I hear things, but I don't care about it. I know my hands are clean.
Thank you very much.
What I want is to get to that.
So yeah, once we get to 2021.